Last night, I decided to take my daughter and son in law to a fancy restaurant, celebrate finishing her school and starting a new job today, which she's at right now. And she gets to drive home in a thunderstorm because I'm looking out the window and seeing one coming. Anyway, it was a pretty nice evening, uh, late afternoon actually. And we got an alert on our phone saying, storm coming, and nothing atypical here in North Texas. Looked at the phone and said, "Oh, look at all the purple and the dark red. Yeah, we're going to suck coming home." They're driving into it. We're driving away from it. And I said, "Well, let's hurry up." But the food was so good. Awesome pork chop. They had the fish. It was pretty good. My wife had a tasty little burger thing. Um, and they had their wine. It was a wine place. I had a non-alcoholic fruity drink, which was pretty cool. But anyway, we decided we better get going. Of course, as soon as we get going, that red hit right over the restaurant. Took the umbrella the restaurant gave us, got my wife to the car. She still got a little wet. And I brought the umbrella back, and then I went to the car and I got soaked. And the drive back was interesting. It got pretty spicy in a couple of spots. I wish we had recorded when we got into Rockwall. It got a little spicy then. The creek overflowed as we crossed the bridge back into Rockwall. Flooded an intersection pretty bad. Now we're in a big old SUV and managed it okay, but I don't know how some of those smaller cars got through it. But it got me to thinking about storms and tornadoes in general. And we actually started talking about it when the storm was coming because there was a tornado that hit somewhat near my daughter's house. And it was a small one, but that got pretty interesting for her. This is the video that she took. She didn't have the sound on her phone for some reason, but it was just not even a mile or two away from her house. And I can't tell it on this video that she provided where the tornado is. So I couldn't make it out, but during this video, the sirens are going off. And I guess she takes after me because she ran out to go take a look and see where it was at. So pretty cool. So this is a few hours after the video that she took, and this is a very early morning, 4:30 maybe, in Rockwall, and out my front. And I got woke up because the tornado sirens were going off, and I wanted to go see what was going on. So I go outside and start taking a look, and the wind's blowing pretty good. I would say get up to about 60 knots in our area, but in their area, north of Denton, Aubrey area, they say it was about 80 knots, which caused all kinds of problems. Trampolines were tossed over the fences, trash cans blown completely down the street. And I saw the tree fall down and hit my neighbor's son's car. And there's a few other trees that got blown around. Now, this is something I don't remember a lot of growing up in East Texas. We had big thunderstorms. We had hailstorms. We had tornadoes. But I don't remember thunderstorms with so much wind that often. Now, yeah, it's been cases, but 80-mile-an-hour winds, not so much. So I'm just speculating. You could toss out hypothesis or conjectures if you're a mathematician all day. But I'm just thinking that with the increase, spring coming earlier, fall staying late, these storms just have a bit more energy to them nowadays. So I do want to talk a little bit about my own experience as growing up with tornadoes and my thoughts on the problems that North Texas is going to be facing with the ongoing growth. So let me go ahead and get that started on, I'm playing with DaVinci Resolve again. It's pretty cool. Anyway, let's talk about that. My first encounter with a tornado was when I was growing up in Diana, my hometown, right here, north of Longview. So Longview's down here, Dangerfield's up north, and you got Gilmer right over here, the famous Jamboree, and Lake of the Pines, where I did a lot of work on Lake of the Pines as a teenager. And Diana's a small town. When I was growing up, about 400 people. It's a heck of a lot bigger now. They've grown like crazy. They even have, regular stuff. I mean, we're talking K through 12 all in one, two adjoining buildings right here. There's a gas station right across the road. I'll show you another map here in a second. Anyway, I grew up right around here. So the house was, if that's Simmons Road, these were blacktop roads. We had a farmhouse right here. Anyway, when I was around sixth grade, fifth grade maybe, a tornado came along right through here, like that. And it missed our house by a few hundred yards. Maybe a little bit more than that because I felt the wind. Of course, being East Texan, when you see or think of tornadoes coming out, we all run outside to take a look. And it wasn't a very big tornado. We didn't know about EF ratings back then, but it'd probably be an EF1. I can't see it being an EF2 because when I went to go look later on, there wasn't a whole lot of trees that were knocked down, a couple of fence damages and stuff like that. Not much to it. So here's a better picture of what was out there. Now, this is a current Google Map thing, so there's a whole lot more people living out there. But here is the farmhouse that we grew up on, and I guess I'll zoom in on a better picture here shortly. These houses right here didn't exist. This was all forested area. This didn't exist. There was a house up here, right here, I think. And then there was a house way up here. There was a house with a really cute girl who had horses right here. And over here, there was about 3 or 4 houses. And that was it for the entire area. Oh, and down here, there were some houses right over here. So when a tornado comes along and, hits the area, it was here, and I think it was more like this. Was the tornado. And there was some fencing right here that got damaged and a few trees that got knocked down, but not much. And it was pretty exciting. I don't know if I think it was just me and my brothers were home. And we weren't smart enough to take cover. We just went out and watched it. So it was pretty cool. I could show you, here's a better picture of where we grew up. Now, this is an old farmhouse built in the 1920s and called the Davidson House. Very stone. In fact, one of the claim to fame was Bonnie and Clyde stopped there to have their picture taken in front of it. And these houses, of course, didn't exist. This is all wooded area. In fact, it looks like on this Google map, they did a lot of foresting stuff here. This was not like that. This was very thick forest that probably hasn't been touched since the 1920s. And it was a very fun place to grow up. I did a lot of fishing here, did a lot of fishing here, almost got bit by a water moccasin right here, and a copperhead right here in this tiny little catfish pond. I actually thought it was a rope. I was a kid, went to pick it up. I actually started to pick it up, and it turned out to be a copperhead. Whoops. But there wasn't much out here. So when I talk about geometric probability, the probability of a tornado hitting a house out here is pretty rare. And when you look at past tornado counts by year, you go up and look it up on one of the many places on the internet on how many tornadoes happen per year. You're going to see that before 1950, you think there wasn't a lot of tornadoes. Well, 1970, you're going to think, well, there's more tornadoes, but it wasn't that much. I pretty much guarantee the tornado that came through here was not reported to the National Weather Service because I think we're the only ones that would have reported it. We're the only ones who knew it was there. So when we talk about this, and now Diana has a lot more houses that live, that grow, they've grown through here. The probability of that same tornado, these people would have been hit. These people might have seen some damage. I don't remember exactly where the path was, but now we would have seen some damage on some houses. So my daughter, the video that I show you, my daughter and son-in-law bought a starter home over in here somewhere, and Google Maps doesn't even show it's been built yet. And I think it's somewhere around here. I get always confused. I get lost even when I go to their house. And there's nothing but tons of houses all over. These places are building up houses, new clearings. These farmers are selling their land because one realtor, and this was several years ago, said about 800 people a week, not a month, a week, were moving to DFW. A couple thousand, 3,000 people a month. and I think it's only increased. They're building houses like crazy, which is a problem. People who live here, the native people growing up and going to high schools and getting their starter jobs or going off and trying to start a career, are finding housing prices to be really difficult. And a lot of it is out-of-state cash buyers. And there's some speculation from Wall Street that's driving prices up too. But so many people are coming here that a normal house that would have cost $70,000 or $80,000 not that long ago is now $350,000. It's like insane. So there was a tornado here, and my daughter tried to catch it on her video, but you can't see it. She didn't have audio, so you couldn't hear the tornado sirens. But it was up over here somewhere. Tornado over here. And the damage was minimal. I think a barn and a couple other things. So the tornado came right through here. And there was another tornado, same night, that hit Salina. Now, Salina was probably in the national news because 5 firemen houses got destroyed or something like that. And not that long ago, we're talking, even 30 years ago or 20 years ago, Salina was a small town, just about 4 times bigger than Diana. It was a small little town. There was nothing out here. And all these housing developments, these farmers selling their lands and for these what we call mud developments are municipal, urban something. They get away with a lot of stuff. In fact, I know that the local politicians here in Rockwall are trying to stop the mud developments. They're a little bit out of control. So when a tornado comes through now, whereas versus 30 years ago, it's going to hit something. And I was talking to my neighbor out back, and his insurance company is not going to renew his insurance because of the hail damage. And it's geometric probability again. I taught geometric probability in on-level geometry, but not in pre-AP or GT. I didn't do it very many years, but it's a very simple thing. Basically, what's the probability of something happening in a very defined space? Well, geometric probability of a hailstorm coming through, which we have every single year, of hitting a house over here, is pretty small. I mean, 1 or 2 houses, and insurance can cover that. But when you have a hailstorm take out all these builder grade homes with the builder grade roofs, every single house is going to need a new roof. And that's a heck of a lot of money. I don't know how insurance companies are going to survive in Texas, tell you the truth. I feel bad for them. They wanted service houses, but end of the day, if you don't make money, you can't afford your employees, you can't afford anything. So it's going to be tough work for them. So don't know what to do. I upgraded my roof to the class 4 storm roofs, and they can take a pretty good size hail. But these builder grade roofs, they can't do that. And when you have a starter family and you're only earning maybe dual income $100,000 or $120,000 a year, and you're buying a $350,000 house, which is small, adding an extra few thousand on the roof is not something that a lot of people choose to do, especially when you're out of state and you don't know the dangers of Texas hailstorms. So the second tornado that was up close and personal to us happened when we were living in Flower Mound. We lived right over here, okay? And the tornado siren started going off. We knew there was a bad storm coming. I saw it on the radar and everything. And modern days warning systems are awesome. They're incredible. They tell you exactly what's coming, when it's coming, and all that. So, well, of course, I run outside the door just like when I was a little kid to take a look. And right around over here, probably right about here, I saw the funnel. It was coming down. The rotation, the funnel, and everything. I told the kids to get under the... this was, 17. It was a while ago. They were middle school or elementary school. I can't remember. And I told them to get under the, we had a little nice, very safe place under the stairwell. And the tornado was spinning. I touched down over by Marcus High School. Where's Marcus? High School. Where is Marcus High School? Lost it. Oh, way over here. It touched down some over here. Did some damage. Turned out to be about an EF1 tornado. I think that's what they said. But it was amazing that I watched it just spinning and spinning and spinning as it went by. And it was probably just I don't even think a couple 100 meters off the ground when it was going over by our house. And it was really cool to watch. So those were my 2 up and close personal visits from a tornado. But if this happened in 1985, which this map is taken from, let's see, where were we at? We were somewhere around here. There's nothing there. And Marcus High School might have been built. Marcus was built before Flower Mound High School, I think. I can't remember because Highland Village was a pretty big deal back then. But it was a lot smaller. So there were houses over here, but it had been a heck of a lot less damage. Alrighty. I live now in Rockwall, and we had this big old hailstorm last year. We're talking softball size hail. And Rockwall back in, this is a 1985 map again. And we lived up here. Where do we live? I think we live up here. Yeah, that's where we live now. And there's nothing there. And hail hit this entire area right around here. Now there's a whole bunch of houses now in this area. We have all these houses here. We have houses here, new development here. And almost every single house needed a new roof. If you didn't have that class 4 roofing, which many of these houses didn't because they were built and they didn't need new roofs because the hailstorm hasn't hit here in a while. That's a lot of money that insurance has to pay out. So it's a problem in Texas. And we need I don't know what the solution would be. The middle class is already suffering enough with all the other problems. And if it suffers more, we're going to have some interesting times. But anyway, this whole area right here, as I've talked to the prospective mayor, I've talked to a couple of city council members, they are very concerned about all the mud, the municipal, where they can bypass the city ordinances and build these big communities like here in Fate. Fate was a 1-horse town, a decent barbecue place. That was all that I always knew it for. Now it's all these crammed in starter homes. Heath down here is doing a little bit better job because they are under city ordinances, and they're limiting their new development to 1-acre lots. So it's a much nicer place to live. But then the prices are really out crazy because people are coming out of state and buying these houses like all get out. Oh well, so that's the life here. We've always had storms. We always will have storms. I think the thunderstorms are getting worse because it just seems there's more energy in the air. But I don't think tornadoes are getting frequent. I'll take a look at that and add that to the video if I find something. Well, it didn't take me but a few seconds to actually find it. National Geographic site talked a good bit about the tornadoes. And as I suspected, because it just didn't feel right, there's not really an increase of tornadoes, but I think there is a shift in where the tornadoes occur. Because, let's see, when I was stationed in Alabama, I was there for 5 years. There's very few tornadoes, but now I think Alabama's seeing more and more tornadoes, but they're smaller. EF10, of course, that one that hit Tuscaloosa a few years ago was devastating. And EF0s, we've probably seen a few here around here. We just didn't think of them as tornadoes. Just a lot of wind during a thunderstorm. But now they're starting to be reported as EF0s. So the Nat Geo site talks about wind shear patterns changing, even though there's more energy. So we might see less bigger tornadoes, if that sounds strange. But I think they have a lot more studying to do. I mean, when you toss out these hypotheses, science is a tricky thing. And the problem is that we have a lot of scientists that sometimes jump to conclusions a little too quickly. So, but it'll work itself out eventually. But Texas and tornadoes, it's just the way it's going to be. I don't think as bad as Oklahoma. There was actually, when we were in Broken Bow a week ago, there was a tornado north of us that hit. But Oklahoma, Kansas, they'll still get the biggies, I think. But here in North Texas, EF0s, EF1s, EF2s seem to be very common, but I haven't seen an EF5 or 4 in, I've never seen one personally, or even been close to one. Okie doke, so that's it. I'll get this posted.